I was
King, what's
feeling
up
that
with
right there. I was feeling that way.
you? feeling it OT, huh? What's
Hey,
good with you, man?
yeah.
What's good with you, man? Talk to me, man.
We good, man. We over here making it happen, making it do what it do. You know what I'm saying? Going through the grind. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, let me tell you something. The rainbow, bro. The rainbow. I don't know if people understand the rainbow, but the rainbow is beautiful because it lets you know that you made it through the storm,
For sure.
and it lets you know that God is continuing His promise. So when you see the rainbows in life, you got to understand that's just a sign that you made it through whatever you was going through. You feel me?
For sure, for sure. No, I agree with that wholeheartedly, man.
Yes,
Let me
sir.
introduce folks to the show. So shout out to everybody joining us tonight. This is Look in the Mirror, the conversation. I'm one of your co-hosts, Quay Price, and we have our other co-host, King Jaquil Martin.
Yes, sir.
Then two brothers getting together, having these hard conversations that affect the community, and just touching on those things that sometimes folks are scared to touch. So yeah, like I said, welcome to the show. Like I said, so shout out to anybody down in the comments. Shout out to our loyal supporters. Shout out to Shirley Ann. She says she loved the show. You guys are the best. No, we appreciate that, Shirley Ann. We appreciate all the continued support as well. So, man, it's a lot going on right now, King. A lot going on, man.
Well, first of all, you know, we got to pay them bills when you get a chance to pay them bills because we want to keep the show going. You feel me? But man, the world is so interesting right now with what's going on, man. I don't know if everybody's paying attention. I don't know if you lost in the sauce, but you better wake up, wake up, wake up. You know?
For sure. So let me pay these bills real quick, then we're gonna get into some of this, man.
Yeah, pay them bills.
All right. So shout out to our first sponsor, War on Friendly Grounds. This is our own King Jaquil Martin's book right here, 5-star rated on Amazon. He's also got the short film as well that's been hitting all of the all the film festivals around the world. This boy is worldwide. So definitely go check out and support the brother. waronfriendlygrounds.com, waronfriendlygrounds with an S.com. And then we got our second sponsor, Two Sons Juice Co., a cold press, all natural juice company based out of Metro Detroit. Less than nothing you can't pronounce, no chemicals, no preservatives, no none of that. So man, just the good stuff in the bottle delivered to you in Metro Detroit. So go check them out. The number 2sonsjuiceco.com, twosonsjuiceco.com. All right. So man, shout out to everybody in the comments. I see we got comments coming in. Shout out to Nikki Nicole. What's going on with you, Nikki? Appreciate you checking in with us. She says, what's up to Quay and King? So we appreciate you checking in with us. So we got a couple things to touch real quick, but we're going to drop the title real quick so everybody knows what we're talking about tonight. So the title of tonight's show is The Black Woman versus Everybody. So let's say we're going to get into that. We're going to pay some respects real quick. You know, we had some news come out today, and I want to pay some respects real fast before we get started. So let me see if I can pull this up real quick. See if stuff gonna work for us tonight. All right, so
Old school, break dance, cardboard.
Watch collide, the result is a hop and the fat boys finally get ready for this. We give it out no snacks, you guessed it. The fat boys are back. And cool. Ever human beings box one time in your mind.
All right, so I just want to.
Quay, they don't know nothing about that. You went too deep for them, bro.
You know what, man? I had to. I wanted to hit that real quick because I'm sure, you know, anybody in the age bracket, you know, grew up, you know, knowing about the Fat Boys. And as I understand it, today we lost Marky D.
No.
Yeah. So I just heard that. So I heard we lost Marky D today. Marky D is the one all the way over to the right, you know, with the sweatshirt on, with the Adidas sweatshirt on. So man, like I said, rest in peace to Marky D. Like I said, if anybody, like I said, who came up during our time, you know all about the Fat Boys, and you know kind of how they paved the way in the game for a lot of cats who we see today. So yeah, I just wanted to do a quick, you know, salute to Marky D. Rest in peace to the brother. You know, prayers out to his family. And man, I just wanted to show some love real quick, man.
Yeah, thank you for that one. I didn't know that, bro.
For sure. Yeah, I just heard it today. And like I said, shout out to everybody in the comments as well, joining us on the show. Shout out to Corinne joining us on the show as well. We appreciate you coming through.
PR agent right there. She's amazing. Hey, make sure y'all support Corinne. Make sure y'all support her daughter. She got a brand new album that's gonna be dropping. It's gonna be fire. We gotta get Corinne up on the show so she could talk about that too. You know what I'm saying? We want to talk about the future and what they got going on. You feel me?
For sure, for sure. Yeah, no, we appreciate that support. Appreciate that love. Let me get this link out real quick, then we're gonna get into this, Los.
Yes, sir. Pasani Publishing and Company.
Oh man, I got type of weird stuff going on tonight. Give me 1 sec. I'm just trying to get this going. Let me get who in there. What's going on, Chloe?
Hey,
Miss Sip.
What's going on? What's going on?
What's going on?
Nothing much. I'm trying to shoot this link out to a couple folks. You know, I don't know why my Facebook is acting up today. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, no, thanks for joining us. Like I said, we got a little topic we're gonna get into tonight.
We gotta give it up for the ladies.
Yes, I'm ready to get into this topic.
Okay. Yeah, I might have to post this link because it's something's going on with my Facebook.
There is a link. The link is in the comments, by the way. I did post the link in the comments, and it should be a clickable link.
Yeah, and anybody who wants to join the show, I don't know what's going on my Facebook feed right now, but the link is right here posted so you can see it on the show. So just type that link in your browser if you want to get on for Nicole. I know you're looking for the link. Just type this link in your browser real quick. Just StreamYard.com. And then you got that string of letters and numbers, R2SGSDE2DF. And then we also got it down in the comments as well. Yeah, I'm gonna drop it one more time. Okay. All right. So let's get into this. So yeah, so tonight we touching on the topic of the black woman versus everybody. So we're gonna kick this off.
Quay, give them the title one more time. They need to understand exactly what you just said.
The black woman versus everybody. Yep, the black woman versus everybody.
Hey, brothers, that includes you too. That includes you, brothers. We talking about us. We talking about us. Just let you know. All right, we good.
Oh, for sure, for sure. No, we in that mix. We in that mix. We in the verses. But I'm gonna kick this off with a little video. And we're gonna get into this. So let me see. All right. So let me drop this down. Okay.
What's something that people glamorize that's actually just extremely toxic?
Being a strong black woman. People think that shit is a compliment when in reality it is probably one of the most damaging tropes ever created for black women. It strips us of our femininity. People really treat us like we do not feel any kind of pain physically or emotionally or mentally. We are not allowed to have anxiety like white women and our other counterparts. We are not allowed to be stressed and need a break like our other counterparts. Even black men use this narrative against us in relationships. Y'all will see y'all black mothers struggling as a single parent to raise you and then think that every black woman should be going through the same thing. So you in turn become a deadbeat and make other single mothers. It's not strength. It's a coping mechanism rooted in trauma.
Shout out to Delita. That's my homie. I know her in real life. Shout out, that's the family. You know what I mean?
Okay, no doubt, no doubt. And all I said, the video was on point, man. So let's get into this. So the sister touched on a couple things, right? So we're in 2021, and we're starting to see a shift when it comes to Black men and Black women. I know a lot of the focus has been around Black women, and this is just my opinion. I feel like we're in one of those times where we're starting to see the importance of the strength in Black women and Black men. So there's a major focus on essentially restoring our positions, right, as Black women and Black men. So yeah, just looking at this, this video, I want to just get into this. And Chloe, since we got you on the show, and then let's say to all the ladies down in the comments, definitely feel free to respond or comment on this. But just looking at this video, I want to just get it. Oh, we got some feedback. I think that might be you, Shirley Ann.
I fixed it.
Okay. So I want to pose this question to the panel and to the ladies in the comments. Do you feel like the title of a strong Black woman is a bad thing?
I think it shouldn't be. I think that is what it has become. I think that I agree with everything that she said. Pretty much, I don't find any disagreement there because, and I feel like maybe you and I have talked about this before, just in our conversations, one-on-one. Like, you are not allowed to feel, you can't, you see it in the workplace, you see it at home, and she's right about even experiencing it in your relationships, like in your romantic relationships. Men just don't expect you, if you're a Black woman, to show any signs of distress. You always sort of have to put out this persona that everything's okay. Well, yeah, my car broke down, and my rent's due, and this might be going on, and that might be going on. My kids are sick. I still have to work. All of these things are going on, and because Black women make it happen, we just tend to make it happen because we make it work, and we make it happen, and we make things come together for us. Because of that, it's almost like we now are expected to always have that. We're always expected to have it together. We're always expected to carry the load. We're always expected to figure it out. We should just be able to make it work. And instead of it being like a superpower and a good quality, like, hey, wow, y'all always seem to make it work. Like, oh, that's great. Then now it's almost like that's the expectation. Like, we should always be able to make it work. And I think that is damaging. It does come from a place of trauma. Whenever you are put in a position where you're constantly having to put up a strong front at all times, and you don't ever get a chance to be able to be feminine, and maybe sometimes, say I'm tired, and say, I don't feel like being strong today. Like, I'm weak. I need somebody to take care of me instead of me always taking care of ... Like, I need to be able to be, men want us to be feminine. They do, but then what they want us to also, or expect us to also be strong all the time. And you can't have both. What it ends up doing for a woman is, you talk about the whole angry Black woman thing. I mean, that's a really quick way to start to develop these feelings of anger and bitterness, right? Because you're always feeling like you always have to be on. You always feel like you always have to perform. You always feel like you got to always have it together. And it sometimes can make you resentful and make you bitter. And I don't like the word angry, but it does. It's upsetting. It's upsetting. And I don't think that people understand how deep that goes, how deep that feeling goes. And when you're a Black woman, who are you supposed to take that to? Like, who are you supposed to talk to about that? Like, where can you lay that at? Because the minute you start to say that, the people almost don't know what to do with you. Like, people almost don't know like, what do I do with this? Like, I don't know how to handle this. You know, they almost don't know what to do with you at that point. And even sometimes in your relationships with your men, like they almost don't know. They're so used to you always being able to figure it out. Then when you come to them and say, hey, I just don't know. I'm feeling all of these things and I need a place to rest these things. And it's almost like I don't know how to handle that. You know, so I think that, you know, I agree with it. And I think that I've experienced it myself. It leaves you burnt out. It does. It, you know, and if those feelings continue and never ever get addressed, I mean, I think that's why you see some of what you see in women happening now. Like, women are just, you know, they're kind of over the whole thing.
That's deep. I can feel that. And like I said, I think the video is valid. And I said, just tying that to what you just said, I think the video is valid. Why do you think what do you want to say, King?
I said, why do you think it's valid?
Well, I think it's valid because at the end of the day, when someone continuously is labeled with a strong Black woman, then what it does is I feel like it creates this false narrative that they're just invincible. And what I mean by that is they never get tired. They never, you know, run into issues they can't solve. They never run out of energy. Like I said, I feel like it's a similar thing, you know, that happens to brothers. And I said, I don't want to divert. But it's a similar situation where essentially you're supposed to just kind of put all of your emotions and being tired and being exhausted and being worn out. You're just supposed to put that to the side. Because, you know, like I said, of course, you know, we live similar situations, you know, the Black man and the Black woman. And like I said, as the, you know, that whole title of the strong Black woman, I'm just starting to feel like it's something that we need to phase out, to be honest with you, because it just has the ability to just burn a woman out, because I think it's nonstop.
I think it kind of robs them of their femininity.
I feel that for sure.
And I'm sorry to do this to you guys, but before we even jump over to anything else, like, I have to say this. While I appreciate that the struggle of the Black man, there's definitely a struggle, and there's definitely a whole list of things that you guys have to carry. So I don't want to downplay that at all, but I would argue that it's not the same. It's not.
Okay.
It's very different. Black women are expected to shoulder a lot. Now, while you guys do have your struggle, and I'm certainly not taking anything away from that, I would even say it's entirely different, because I lived that experience. It's very different. And what I mean by is, you guys, and I've been in I can speak from personal experience. You guys can find a resting place in us. When you have those, now maybe you can't bring everything to us. I know you can't. There's some things you can't bring to your significant other as a man. Totally get it. But you guys can find a resting place with us in areas of your lives where we can't find that in you guys, because of the narrative of the strong Black woman. Like, we can't. Sometimes some of our concerns just kind of, you can't, it's almost like you can't even receive it because of what the buildup or the expectation from that narrative. So sometimes you guys can't even receive it. And I can say this from personal experience. It's not that you don't want to, you don't care, but there is something, and we need to figure out what that something is that hinders, especially those closest to us, everyone. That's why it's the black woman versus everybody, but especially in those relationships, those close relationships where you should be able to explore those feelings. I think it needs to be said that there's even a layer of that in those relationships where you just can't. You can't. It's like, oh, I hear you, but tomorrow you got to wake up and go right back to being a strong black woman, though, because, like, you know, that's what I need you. That's the role I need you to play for me. So I have to argue that it's not the same.
I feel that. You want to say something, Shirley?
I do. So, you know, I sat back here and I hear it, and it's like, okay, so who defines what strong is as far as expectations? Have we bought some of those expectations on ourselves as well? I believe that the demeanor, that some of us take, I don't need no man, I don't need this, I don't need that, blah, blah, blah. And there comes this strength. And so you've driven and built this barrier. And then all of a sudden you're exhausted and you're tired. And the barrier that you built, you want the other person to tear it down and come running to your rescue. I think that in all honesty, because of the plight, and I don't want to go way back, slavery and all of that, but because of the plight, there's something that's inside of us that causes us, most of us, to be built to win and to not quit and to not give up and to want to see success for our family. And when we don't maybe feel comfortable enough to express ourselves, it could be based on what's reciprocated back to us, or get over it or whatever. But I think there are some times that we present this image, I don't need you. I can do this by myself. I'll make this happen by myself. And the narrative is real, but we should be able to be vulnerable enough. And if somebody pushes back at us because we're being vulnerable or whatever, we have to also be able to say to them, stop, wait a minute. Let's come back to reality. Let me help you understand my feelings and what have you, because the truth of the matter for me is, and I had no choice in the skin color that I showed up in, but the truth of the matter is and it goes back again, interior, what's happening internally, because I'm treated differently because of my skin tone, right? But the truth of the matter, for the most part, women are women and men are men. We just label it different because of the shell, but the emotions, the feelings, the thought processes, and what have you, we bleed the same way. But this label that has been given to us that is so obvious and so true because of our skin tone, we're treated the way that we're treated in two parts. So if you want to talk the gender, then you go because of male versus female. But the other part of it is because of my skin tone. Because if my skin tone was not there and you just saw me as a woman, would you treat me the same way?
Right.
You know what I mean? And as a woman, as a Black female, we tell ourselves we're strong. We create certain narratives for us, and we have to be able to know when we can push back, because there's times like, I know I get tired. I'm like, dude, I'm throwing my hands up. I'm exhausted. You know, I don't want to deal with no more. I cry like everybody else cry. We go through this, that, blah, blah, blah. But I think we become protective because we don't want that kickback or that pushback. And it's like, well, so what? I suck it up and I'll keep it moving. You know, but we are strong. It is what it is. We have endurance. And again, it goes probably back to upbringing, slavery, or whatever. It's like, I can't let you outdo me. I've got to succeed. I've got to achieve. And that's for the bulk of us. But then there are some of us, that's not an issue, you know? And so we have to know where we are. And I think that when we paint the brush, the brush may not be as broad as it is, or the paint may not need 2 or 3 coats, but it is painted. And when something happens, we have to be able to say to that person, this is where I am. Because if not, then we've bought into what is being displayed and we become a part of it, and silence is consent.
I feel that. I feel that. Let me grab some of these comments real quick. So we got a comment from Nikki Nicole. She says, I feel like the stigma of the strong Black woman or superwoman includes feeling obligation to present an image of strength all the time, or feeling an obligation to suppress emotions, resistance to being vulnerable, and feeling an obligation to always help others, and feeling I can't ask for help. That's deep right there. And let me also get this next comment from Corinne. She says, it's the conversation we as women have with ourselves that keep us going, when it should be the conversations we have with our partners. Okay. All right, I feel that.
So you know, I'm sorry. I didn't read their comments, but they're saying to me some exactly what I was saying at some point, you know.
Because I know the conversation is important, right? But how the conversation is presented, I think, is skipped over as well sometimes. You know, how you present your feelings, I think, makes a huge difference, and I think that gets skipped over because it's no longer the conversation; it's just the feelings. You know what I mean? And while we're trying to have the conversation, and sometimes while we're trying to understand, emotions take over the conversation. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be emotional or that you can't have emotions, but then it's only about the emotion. It's no longer the conversation. So I think that creates a little bit of confusion for men sometimes how we should respond, because naturally we're born to want to fix something. And every time you don't want us to fix it, sometimes you just want us to listen. But then when we're just listening, sometimes you want the response. And it's like, well, which part of this equation do you want us to be on? Do you want us to be the listener? Do you want us to be the confidant? Because when we don't give feedback, then you get feedback from friends, or you go outside of the relationship to get the same feedback that we're trying to give you. You know what I mean? In this conversation. So sometimes I think it's presentation, or what exactly do you need from us? And I think that's learning your partner as well. That goes into learning your partner and her needs as well.
And ask. Yeah. You know, like what happened? Like we talked about this, I think, when we were talking about black women. Do you ever ask your man what they like? Like, I think that it's okay to ask. Like, if you're not sure, it's okay. You don't have to know all the time, automatically know everything. Like, it's okay for you to say, well, what do you like? Okay, well, what can I do to help? What can I do?
A lot of times y'all don't know.
Like, what can I do? What would you like me to do to help you? Like, can I, you know, like, it's okay to ask. Like, I guess I can't speak for every woman, but for me personally, like, it's okay to ask. You're not going to know how to handle every single situation, right? Like, you're not. But even taking it outside of a relationship, like, okay, that's the relationship dynamic, and you're right. A lot of times when we get to that point where we're maybe like overwhelmed, or we're at the point where we're exasperated by that feeling where we're like, I'm so tired of always having to have it together. Like, a lot of times when we get to that point, you're right. We are coming from an emotional point at that point, and it's probably not going to come out reasonable. We may not be as reasonable as we should. We may not be as calm as we should. We may not actually be able to have a conversation that's going to be productive at that point, because now we've allowed our emotions to kind of take over a bit. So you're right about that. I think that's from, like, we have to learn how to understand that, one, it's okay to, when we start to have these feelings, like Shirley Ann said, like, it's okay. We should be able to communicate that we're tired and that, you know, we need a break, and then I just can't do it. I can't do it today. Like, what you're asking of me, I don't have it today. I can't do it today. And it doesn't make us any less strong. We're so strong. It doesn't make us weak because today I'm tired and I can't do it. But I think, you know, Shirley had a point as well. You know, Miss Shirley, when you said, you know, sometimes we give ourselves this, you know, we make ourselves feel like we have to present this front, and we do, but it's not without some expectation of that, though. There has been some expectation of us that we can just do it. And I think you're right. We can go back to history, and not to necessarily bring it back, like retell the story. We all know the story, but we always sort of had to keep it all together. So throughout our history in this country, that's how we've always been looked at, always been seen. Like, well, they don't worry, they got it. That's why they were doing surgeries on Black women with no pain medication. No, they don't feel pain. They're fine. They got it. And believe it or not, that still exists, because I can work a job where I am one of 2 brown people, and I can be expected to go through my day and go through my week and handle all of the things the same way, even though I'm a mom and a wife and I got kids and they're in school and all of the things that come with that. But I can be expected, Chloe got it, she can handle it. Now, why do you think they say that?
I think they say that sometimes, though, Chloe, because Chloe presents, I can handle it. And we are afraid to be vulnerable, to break. I don't even think that we should let ourselves get to a point to where we have a breaking point where we says, I just can't do it, I'm done. It should never even get to that point. I think in relationships, at work, well, what I'm saying though is we ought to be able to say, before I really get to the point to where I am completely totally exhausted, so much to a point where I would make myself sick, I need to know how to say no, and know how to say it in the right way, and be okay with saying no, and not feel guilty because I've said no.
That's true.
Because sometimes you just don't. It's like, you know what? I just got to do it. It's expected of me. And then you've got the other person sitting back saying, well, you could have said no. And then we get ticked at them because we made the choice to keep pushing. I'm just saying, if we're gonna have keeping it real, and this is not always the case, but in keeping it real, we've got to be able to have that conversation and to be able to say, I am human just like you. And this is my limits. This is how far I can go. And even if you're tired, to be able to say, you know what, truthfully, I've met my limits, but I understand the importance of this. And this time I'll go that extra mile, but I can't go that extra mile the next time around. So if we set boundaries with individuals, then there are no massive or major expectations. We ought to be women. I mean, just something so simple. You can't open my door. I don't need you carrying my groceries. Get out of my way. I got this. I mean, so we send mixed messages, and men do communicate different than we communicate. You and I can have this dialogue all day long, like we talking right now, right? Mm-hmm. And Quay and Carlos, King, they like, does it take all that? I just asked a simple question, and you guys then took over the entire show.
Here's an example.
Yeah.
Hey, mama, how you doing today?
Oh, it's a long day, Los.
It's a long day. You got a beautiful smile. You're looking good today, mama.
I'm smiling like you. Really?
Hey, mom, quick question. What you want to eat?
I have meal preps.
Now, what you want to eat, though?
I don't know. What you want me to eat?
Well, I'm open to anything. You know what I mean? So let's go here. Let's go eat this. I don't want that. Oh, I thought you said it didn't matter.
Well, yeah, it's got to have something healthy.
And what I'm saying is, this is what I'm saying in this situation, right? Mm-hmm. Most of the time when we ask for something simple of what you want to eat, you don't know. And then we go through like 50 different things trying to pick what you might want to eat. And it's, I don't want that. Well, I thought you said it didn't matter what you wanted to go. And so it creates a little bit of confusion or frustration because we're trying to please you, but it's hard to please somebody who don't know what they want to be pleased with.
And not necessarily not know what we want to be pleased with. I think that the bigger challenge is, and it could have something that stem from our childhood or whatever, not really knowing how to properly express ourselves.
Yeah.
That's dope.
I would agree with that.
That's dope. That's really dope.
I really want to say something to you, but I don't know how to express it because I don't know if you're going to judge me if I say it this way, that way. We have a whole full doggone conversation in our head about what we think that you think that you think that you might think. And you're so, whoever it is, they're so far away from it. And that's when we have to shut down and I'm older than you guys, and every day we learn to get better and better and better, hopefully. But we have to learn how to shut the chatter down. There's so much chatter. I mean, we fight against our doggone selves.
Yes, that's true.
I shouldn't have did this. I shouldn't have did that. How come I did it this way? Da, 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 da. And it's not that deep, but we complicate things.
Yeah.
So let me ask this. So for women, is there a level of, let me put it this way, is there a level of comfort in being known or referred to as a strong Black woman? Like, is there something that is comfortable about that?
I mean, I think that it starts out as a badge of honor. I think it starts out as you want people to, see that you're smart and capable and strong, and that, you can manage, many different things. But I think that while I agree with Shirley Ann that we do put some of this stuff on ourselves, and I'm always about us taking accountability for that. We do have to learn our boundaries. First, we have to understand what our boundaries are. And then we have to be very intentional about making sure we express those boundaries. So that's true all day long. And I can say that I've struggled with that even in my life. But I think that we also have to understand that we do come with pre-existing expectations. And I think that as a Black woman, sometimes when you're put in certain environments where, there's no one else who kind of understands your plight or your situation, that you can feel this pressure, so to speak, to perform at that level of expectation. There is a pressure there. I wish that it wasn't, but the truth is it's there. And it's unspoken, like a lot of things, when it comes to the disparities between us and other nationalities. It's unspoken. And I think that we just have to get to the point where we understand, yes, that's true, but we go, I don't care about that because I need to live my truth. I can only do so much. And these are my boundaries, and I need to set my boundaries, and you may have expectations, and that's fine. But I also have them, and I have to be more verbal about my expectations. And I would say, if anything, that's something that I'm working on. And that's probably something that a lot of us as Black women need to be more intentional about, owning our truth and just saying, hey, look, I get it, but not allowing ourselves to be pressured to feel like we have to carry it all on our own just because maybe we can't, we can do it. Great. We're smart. We're capable. We're strong. We can do it. But just because we can do it doesn't mean
you gotta do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Quick question, Chloe, because I thought you brought up some dope points, right? Do you think systemic oppression has something to do with all that? Because we're always trying to prove ourselves to show ourselves worthy.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
1000%.
You see what I'm saying? So I think that they put a box around us because of slavery and the PTSD, and we handle that. And then some of that comes out in our relationships against us because we're always trying to show ourselves worthy or approved to be accepted by someone. Not all, but some people that will never will accept you.
It's true.
I agree.
We want to show that we have the good job. We want to show that we're smart. We want to show that we have the nice house, the cars, the clothes, and blah, 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 blah. But who are we showing this to?
Yeah, but
Why does that really matter?
And I 100% agree with you. Here's the flip side of it, which might be the sick side of it, is we do it amongst ourselves.
Yes, we
Of
do.
course.
That, that part right there is the part that make you go, what's really going on? And it takes me back. The thing that just came to my mind was the Willie Lynch syndrome of teaching certain patterns and behaviors and things. And if you do it, then they'll do it themselves because it becomes a norm. And I go back again, and some people would probably think that I was crazy or whatever, but I'm like, what's a norm? So because you say 2 + 2 is 4, is it really 4? Does it have to be 4? Who said it was 4? I mean, the most beautiful artwork is abstract versus this stuff and it's not going against the grain. And I got it, what a reasonable person would or would not do. But To thy own self be true.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Let me grab this comment real quick. Nikki Nicole said, I like being called a strong Black woman. I think it's nothing wrong with it, even though I feel people think we are not as sensitive to pain as others. And I think, Nikki, I think that's accurate. I don't think there's an issue being called a strong Black woman, but I think the narrative part of it is where the problem comes in. Because like I said, it's almost like you're not human, right? So then it just turns into you don't have feelings, you don't, like you said, you're impervious to pain, and then all of these other narratives get associated with the title. So I think that's where the issue comes in. But no, I agree with you. There's nothing wrong with being called a strong Black woman. You want to say something, King?
Yeah, I do. I think there is something wrong with it.
Go ahead.
And the reason why I think there's something wrong with it is because who are we proving that we're strong to? I feel like when we have to say I am this, that we're trying to prove that to someone else that we're that, instead of just being.
Yes and no.
Well, I'm just a weirdo because I feel like Black Lives Matter. Why do I need to tell you Black Lives Matter? I already mattered. I mattered the day that I was born. You know what I'm saying? I'm strong because I woke up and God blessed me to see another day. I am me, and I don't need to prove to no one that I'm a strong Black woman. I just need to own my own essence and be deeply rooted in me. But I think because of systemic oppression, we have to prove ourselves that we're strong to someone else who's trying to oppress us. Not only them, but us too. As far as, you know what I'm saying, the people in our relationships, in our lives, we're always trying to prove something instead of just being. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with being a strong Black woman, but who are we trying to show the case that we're our strength to?
Yeah, and like I said, I think you can look at that both ways, and I said two ways. And the only reason I'm saying that is because I saw a video earlier today where a young man was talking about always telling your kids, that they're smart or that they're strong or that they're intelligent and so forth, right? So it's not about proving anything to anybody else. He was more speaking on the motivational perspective 100%. On it, right? And I think that's where that narrative comes in. So when you take the narrative and you say a strong Black woman, and then you attach this narrative to it, the one that we're currently living in, then that's where we see all of the disregard for feelings and, the Black woman never gets tired and all. That's where all that comes in. But, I'm saying, for some women, they may want to essentially carry themselves in that manner because they want to essentially motivate themselves or know that they are strong in what they do. So there's just a couple of different ways to look at it, but I think it's more of that narrative is where the issue comes in. Because like I said, there's so many negative things or unrealistic things tied to that narrative. And that's kind of what we're seeing right now.
But I think, Quay, the true narrative part is Black woman, because there's nothing wrong with being strong. You got strong white women, strong white men, strong Black. I mean, when they say strong Black woman, then that's where it's negative. Really? Or is it the latter part, which is really the middle, Black woman? That
I think when you put them all together, I think you're right. I think if we were talking about a strong white woman, she'd just be a strong white woman, but when you put strong Black woman together, then this is what we mean by the narrative, right? This is the power is in the perception. It's not the term itself. There's zero wrong with being strong. What's wrong with being strong? Okay, it's nothing. But it's when you put the perception and the stigma of being Black and then being a Black woman, and then you put strong in there, it completely changes the meaning of this term now.
Yeah.
A term that would just be a term, oh, she's a strong woman, would just be a term, right? She's strong. It would just be something, right? And there's nothing wrong with being strong. But when you put the Black and the woman part to it, because there already exists an expectation and a stigma with us being Black women, when you add the strong to it, that's what completely changes the idea in people's mind, right? Like I said, this is what had them thinking we don't feel pain. Like we're women just like any other. We're women just like any other woman. Right. Why would we not feel pain? Like we're human. Like of course we feel pain. But once you put the Black part to it and then the Black woman part to it, they're fine. She's fine. She's a strong Black woman. And then
You
all of
know,
a sudden, that means so much more than what it would mean for anyone else because she's a strong Black woman.
like
And I
piggybacking off
think
what you're
that's the
saying,
part.
Corey. When do we ever hear strong Asian woman, strong Mexican woman, strong white woman, strong any woman in any other race? Why is it always the Black highlight?
Because they
never.
don't because they don't put the same expectations on other women as they put on us.
Well,
Now we're kind of getting somewhere, right?
Mhm.
And what I mean by this is with the Black highlight, it changes and it morphs into something else because no one else has to explain that they're strong. No
exactly.
one else has to define who they are. They just are.
Right.
It just is what it is. You don't see on TV, man, that's a strong white woman over there. You don't have to because it is what it is. But it's like Black people, or to a certain extent, are always trying to prove the essence of what we already are instead of just being.
Yeah, but when you add strong to it also, it strengthens the threat.
Yes.
And the threat is you are not comfortable in who you are and in what you're doing. And as a result, therefore, then I need to suppress or oppress you so that I can feel good about me. And
Facts.
I mean, that's really what it really is. And I have to go back, and I'm not stupid or dumb or whatever, but in my mind, I'm like going, okay, so what's really strong? Who defines all these adjectives that are being added to a person? Your person, it's the adjectives that takes it to another level. You use that adjective in a positive or in a negative way. Why do you even have to have an adjective there?
But I think we're back to that narrative again, because I said if you look at what is projected, we are always shown or portrayed as weak or inferior. Right? We're the only folks who get sick. We're the only folks who struggle with this. We're the only folks behind in the wealth race. We're the only folks with our children with the low test scores. We're the only ones. Like it's always us, right? Even COVID, right? We're the only ones getting COVID. Like it's always a negative light shined on us, right? So I mean, I can see
we're only 3/5 of a person.
Right, that too. But yes, it's always this negative light that is shown. So of course, it would be in our best interest to represent strong, right? Because we are always represented as weak, even though, if you do the math and understand things, you'll know we're the strongest, but that's a whole nother show. But that's just the way that it's portrayed, and that's what we're typically fed. Let me grab this comment real quick. I'll let you guys respond. Shout out to Herschel, man. Man, these are my people from back in the day. He says, I personally don't need to hear the phrase strong Black woman, but that's just because for me, when I hear Black woman, period, I already attribute them with being strong. But if emphasizing being strong helps, I welcome it all day. Okay, I feel that. Appreciate that comment, man.
And the crazy thing about it is scientifically already proven. So
correct.
Everyone came from a Black woman.
Yeah, and the truth of the matter also is there. I mean, the concept is there. It is strong. It's strong. It's strong Black man, strong Black woman. You think about it. Slavery, books. So they so-called terms or whatever. Who was doing the bulk of the work and who was executing and making things happen? Who could handle it? Obviously, even if the Caucasian male wanted to handle it, he was not physically, because of whatever, be it from the psychological perspective. So the strength part also is not just physical, but it's also in the mental for us at some point. And I think that's where in America we lack of understanding who we really are. Because if we really understood the strength of the mentality of our mind and the creativity that we have, we really are a force to be reckoned with. And so as long as I can take and say the strong Black woman, I'll play the narrative down and make it negative, or I'll use whatever and make it negative. The only thing that's positive when it comes to Black is when they got money and it's in the Black. Have y'all noticed that also? That's a surplus, right? Otherwise it's negative. But if we could ever identify that and put it in its proper perspective, we really are a force as a nation of people to be reckoned with.
I'm gonna
It's
say something.
we do. I'm sorry, and I'm done with this one here. We
Go
use our strength, not we. Some of us, and far too many of us, use our strength negatively versus positively. Because if you can form a gang, you are a leader. If you can make crack, you are a chemist. I mean, there are so many things that we can do that's in us innately, but we don't know how to revert it from a positive.
A drug leader is a businessman, one of the best businessmen ever. I look at it like this, right? When are we going to become the antivirus to the system that was built against us? And what I mean by that is the reason why we're having this conversation only shows that the system that they created to suppress us works perfectly.
Oh, yeah.
The system is flawless. When are we going to start looking outside of ourselves and start looking at the rules of engagement and how they have us caught in this scenario? Because we showed that we could survive slavery. We showed as a people that we can conquer everything that we've conquered to be at the point that we are, right? So we came from nothing to being to the places that we are through the sacrifices of everyone who lived for us. When are we going to start looking at the rules of the game so we can finally change it?
Facts. So let me mess with some folks because I see my favorite person, Nicole, over here. She hiding out. Go on to mute yourself.
I'm not hiding.
What's going on?
Nothing much. How are you?
Doing well. So I got a question for you.
Yes.
I'm going to pull you in here. We talking about this strong black woman narrative, right?
Mm-hmm.
You consider yourself a strong black woman?
Honestly, I do.
Okay. All right. So my next question to that is because I know I like to mess with you.
I know.
I like to mess with you when it comes to, let's say we've had a couple shows around the black man and the black woman in our relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So in this particular situation, as we talk about the strong black woman and the narrative that comes attached to that, do you feel that women carry that narrative into their new relationships? So when a man comes along and says, "Hey, I'm interested in you," well, I'm gonna keep it specific. So when a black man comes along and says, "Hey, I'm interested in you, Nicole,"
mm-hmm.
do you still carry some of those strong black woman tendencies when you engage in that relationship?
Honestly, initially I will, because I would say, this is me being honest, because I feel like at the end of the day, it's single me before it's relationship me. And I guess I think about what single me is going to be before this situation and after this situation. But I would say as time has gone on, I've been more conscious of some things I probably have been like really strong and really adamant about, and have probably thought about some of those things more. But yeah, I it's some aspect I would keep that like in the back of my mind somewhere.
That's real. No, that's real. That's real. And I appreciate you saying that. Because this is where I'm coming from with that is, like I said, I'm starting to like what I'm seeing, right? So we're starting to, let's say we do a lot of it on this show. So we're starting to have these conversations that we've really never had, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're getting to a point where we're identifying these issues that exist within us as black men and black women. And then we're identifying things that we need to change, or address, that things that we need to address with these particular issues that exist within us, because we see how they affect our relationships, or how we approach each other, or how we communicate and so forth. So I'm really asking a general question to the ladies on the panel and in the comments. as we identify this whole the strong black woman narrative, and we've kind of touched on some of the things that are attached to it, are the ladies ready to release that? Like, I know there's a certain level of comfortability in that title.
I think that's a little biased though, Corey, to a certain extent, because you know when we had that conversation, even though I know it's about the ladies and the ladies bringing baggage, we bring baggage too. You know what I mean,
I was gonna say I feel like
And I-
that's one part of the question, because I feel like
yeah.
first part is like I guess the first part of the question would be like, are women ready to release that, and are men willing to nurture, provide, and
Yeah, like
support that? And when that does happen,
in order for them to want to release, are we? I guess what Quay is saying in the scenario, the men who are showing up the right way, who are willing to help allow you to let your guard down, are you okay with doing that in those situations? You know what I mean? Because I understand when you meet a person, you're not just going to drop the guard down and just be open. That would be stupid. That's how you get hurt. So what he's saying is, if a brother steps to you correctly, the right way, and is wanting to lead the right way, are you willing to let go of some of the things that you had when you were being independent?
I think I would be. I think they would have to be real gentle and real slow.
See, there she go. There she go.
I'm like, we have to take baby steps.
But I like
one layer at a time. Just one layer at a time.
Yeah.
Well, that's me being honest. That's me being honest, because I as I am getting older, and I don't know if it's because my birthday is coming up, but I feel like the end of these 20s is they getting real close. I do think about those type of things. I'm like, okay, well, I have this going on, that going on, and what would a real functional relationship with me look like? Like that's an entire question. So yeah, I given my history and being honest about it, I believe a person will have to have a lot of patience with me for sure.
Okay, and I can respect that. I can respect that. And like I said, that's really where I was going with it. So let's say we're at a point where we do have a lot more men understanding the role that they play, right? And as they approach women and say, hey, I'm ready to play my role, you can let the guard down, take the armor off, it's time for you to get back to being feminine. It's time for you to, like when the guys
hold on.
Go ahead.
Are you implying that black women that are strong, they're not feminine? I'm still a little bit kind of confused, sort of, in what you guys are saying the narrative is of a strong black woman. I don't think I've really grasped all of that. Because you're like, are you willing to let go of some of that or whatever? And I'm like, what are you saying?
I feel like, I guess, from my experience and from what I've seen, I think when that is said, I feel like when you are like highly independent, honestly or not, I feel like some aspect of self-care does go away. Like, I feel like you care less about certain aspects. So when he's saying, okay, if a man is stepping up and letting you return to you being feminine, I think it is more focusing on, feeling attractive, boosting your confidence, having those type of things that are more of a focus, instead of, I don't know, maybe that time is replaced by, I don't know, work or some other thing that you have to do.
I don't know, because I see myself as being strong, and I appreciated what you said, Nicole, about taking the time and what have you. But that comes with, I think, men studying that woman, and it's very, very important not to be unequally yoked. And you are not dating the representative, but you're really meeting the true person. And as being a strong black female, black woman, I was a single mom or what have you. I never lost my femininity. No, I don't feel like I lost my femininity.
Why people like that?
Look at me like, what? No.
You not
Well,
people.
I guess I'm just being honest.
Well,
Maybe I'm just being honest for me, because I can tell you right now with what my schedule is right now, there is definitely some femininity that's been lost. Some people have honestly told me that know me. They're like, okay, you used to be this way, now you're this way. But that's because the priorities change. I don't have somebody picking up the extra slack or time or things that I have to get done. I have to keep a tighter schedule.
My mom.
And that's me being honest on what my schedule and where my time is now.
I mean, I think we have to understand that we're talking about a plethora of different personalities, women that all represent strong. So there's not one version of strong Black woman. There's multiple versions of strong Black women. And I think it's great that you can be as transparent as you're being. Nicole, like, there are some women who the way that they represent strong might be different, right? Like, my version of strong might be different than Nicole's version of strong Black woman. Miss Shirley Ann, like, your version of strong Black woman might be different from mine. Like, it might just be different, right? Like, we have different approaches to strong Black woman because we are still different in our personalities and characteristics and things like that. But to define, I think the traditional word feminine is not, because I think sometimes I saw that in the question and I kind of want to speak to that. I think sometimes we think when we say feminine that it means a woman needs to be barefoot and pregnant. Like, I need women to stop going to that narrative. That's not what we're talking about. That's not what we're talking about in 2021. What we're saying is feminine as in owning your role as a woman, and that doesn't necessarily mean you're weaker or that you're not as smart or that you're a second-class citizen. It doesn't mean any of those things. It just means that you can now assume your God-given ordained position in life and in relationship to be the neck, not the head of the relationship, which means you are the support system. You are vital, because without the neck, the head cannot move. It can't make moves, but you have to be able to, fall into your role. So then the man can also fall into his. Not that the man can't already own his leadership, but in a relationship, the two roles have to be in sync. Like you said, Miss Shirley Ann, equally yoked. Like, he has to understand his position and play his, and you have to understand yours and play yours in order for there to be harmony.
So how do you account for Proverbs 31
relationship in that situation? So we're not talking about feminine in terms of, you gotta, always gotta be in 6-inch heels, and we're not talking about that. We're just saying, like, if you're someone who maybe has had to be your sole provider, you've had to be independent, you've had to be on your own, you've had to do everything. Yeah, that might make you develop a bit of an edge. You may have a bit of an edge. So then when that man comes to you and he's like, well, baby girl, you ain't got to do all of that, though. I understand, but you don't got to do all that no more. I'm here. Like, I want to help. I want to step in and fill that void and take that role over. So I'm not saying you got to stop doing everything, but you don't have to do all that on your own anymore. And I think that you see some women struggle with that, right? You see them say, wait, whoa, I don't know if I can do that. So I think when we say feminine, that's what we mean. That's what we mean. And then some women do, literally, I'll be honest. Let me go ahead and put it out there. Some women out here, you strong Black woman, but you manage.
Can I say something that might be offensive?
/ISH, you manage.
Can I say something that might be offensive?
Go ahead, man.
All right. White girl feminine. Now, that might rub some people some wrong way, right? But I feel like they get to grow up differently than Black women, in my opinion, because of the financial situation, because of the opportunities, because of everything else, where they get to be more dainty, more this, more that, because of the environment that they're in. And they're not in fight or flight. You know what I'm saying? They're not oppressed. They're not going through all the same things that we have to face as a culture. Is what I mean by that.
So my question is, do we accept it and do we understand that? And when it comes to relationships, do men understand that?
Right.
I feel like a lot of pushback. I feel like a lot of pushback and stuff like that be unnecessary because of how certain people were brought up.
That's all I was getting ready to say. I think that's it right there. It's all about culture, because there are some of us who were born into wealth, and their parents have also gained wealth, and they've had some things, not many of us by far, but they've had some things that Caucasian people have had in that environment, and they get to be what we would say dainty or not. I mean, and a lot of it also has to do with generation. And, you know, y'all know some of the things y'all were saying. I was like, huh? So, I mean, for me, femininity didn't necessarily always mean the 6-inch heels. I mean, you had to hold down. So I don't know if you were like feminine based on roles, because I also go back, you know, Chloe, and I'll go, okay, so how do we define the Proverbs 31 woman, or how do we define Queen Esther? I mean, some of these different role models in the Word, where, I mean, they worked, they took care of their households, they did different things, but you got to know your household as well. I don't think as women it's about us, you know, snapping our necks, being cocky, and telling our men what they gonna do, what they ain't gonna do, blah 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 blah. That's something different to me. That's mannish for me. There.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just said the Proverbs 31 woman, and you just said Esther. Like, Esther knew how to play her position.
Absolutely.
Like, she knew how to play her position. So we don't need to define those women. If let's use them as an example. That's perfect. Let's use Esther as an example. Let's use Ruth as an example. Let's let's be the Proverbs 31. The problem is we don't have enough Proverbs 31 women walking around here. Let's use that as an example. Let's let that be the prototype. And let every woman on this show watching this show right now, go back and read Proverbs 31. Let that be your prototype. That's you. If that's the case, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now about what feminine is, because then we would know that's the prototype. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
If we are going, because see, you know, I do this Bible thing. So if we're going off of a biblical mindset, and if we're going off biblical established roles, then we would not be sitting here talking about women not knowing what feminine is, or women not understanding that the strong Black woman that we've been painted with, not the one that should be real and should exist, but the one, the narrative that we've been given does not fall in line with that biblical narrative of who a woman should be. It doesn't fall in line with that, because the problem is we don't know and understand our identity in Christ. One, we're not all of us are in Christ. That's one, which we should be. Two, some of those of us who walk around and say we are in Christ, and I don't mean to be offensive, but I gotta be true, because the Spirit is leading me to say this. Some of those of us who call ourselves Christian and say we are in Christ, we do not understand our identity in Christ. If we understood our identity in Christ, we would not have an identity crisis about what the narrative that this world puts on us. We would be set apart. We would know how to separate ourselves from what this world calls us to be and who we really are. And the farther we distance ourselves from the biblical identity and the narrative and the true understanding of who we are as a people, and understanding that God told us that he would put us in this land, Black people. God told us that we will be hated among all nations, Deuteronomy 28. He told us that these would be the curses that we would have to endure. When you know that and you understand that, you move different in this world. You move different. So I think that, you know, I agree. Let's use those biblical women as our example, because the one thing they knew is how to play their role, and nobody had to tell them how to be feminine. They knew how to be feminine.
Yeah, but not only with that though, Chloe, we have to also paint the whole picture with it. The men also lined up accordingly.
True.
So it's not a one-sided. It's not I get to dip in when it feels good for me, and I can skip out when it's not.
Sometimes you're not going to have that. Let's just be honest. Okay.
Deflection.
You're absolutely right.
Because a man has his own role to play. You have your own role to play. So if a man ain't right, then you shouldn't be there first and foremost. But that has nothing to do with you doing your part.
Boom.
You supposed to do your part.
Absolutely.
I'm supposed to do my part. I got my own accountability. You got your own accountability. And right now, we can talk about your accountability.
Well, yeah, I mean, the man needs to
You know,
own his
y'all need to
role.
do some shows on
That's
men,
true.
because all you talk about is the women. No,
Not true.
That's true.
Not true. Not true.
the majority.
Not true.
Go ahead, Chloe. Go ahead, Chloe. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
no, I was saying like I agree. Like the men have to definitely own their role, and I mean I think we do need to have a conversation about that. We do need to have that conversation,
Yeah.
because it's true. We can't. There needs to be harmony. That means each individual has to
balance?
own their role. But you know that the truth is though, you're not always going to have a situation where the man may be as confident in his role. Does that? Yes, you have a decision to make. Do you even want to be bothered with that? Let's just be honest. Like as a woman, do you even want to be bothered with it? And if you say that you are, then you're gonna have to understand that now means that your part might need to shift and you might need to change. Like I think that's important. Like you have to look at somebody like let's take the example of Ruth. Like Ruth had lost both her husband. Like she had lost her husband. She had lost her sons. Like, and I'm getting mixed up. Naomi had lost her husband. Naomi had lost her husband and her sons, and
Which
Ruth
was
had
married
lost
to
her
Ruth.
husband. She
Right.
had lost her husband. So I mean, you now have a situation where there's no man. There's no man in the picture. There's no man, but she still knew how to play her role when it came time for her to put herself in the right position for Boaz.
Yeah, but who taught her
She
that?
knew how to do that though.
But who taught her that? The older woman teaching the younger. Naomi told Ruth what to do and how to do what she did when it came to Boaz. So there comes a process, and this is where the ball has been dropped, very truthfully, in older women who are experienced, our grandmothers, great grandmothers, whatever, when they were sharing different tools to manage your household. And not everything that they shared was always right either, but for the bulk of it, for the most part, right? And so in today's society, the bulk of young women are not, they do not have senior female mentors or women of God to properly teach them on how to do. Some because they just not in God, some because they want to relive their lives and be at their same stage. So Naomi taught Ruth. Esther got groomed. There was a grooming process that takes place, real conversation as to why you don't do this and how to do this and how to do that. Today, it's like, you can't tell me what to do and how to do. I'm just as grown as you are.
That's the problem. But that's part of the problem. Like that, we have to have conversations like this. I think like conversations like this open the door, right, for that awareness, right? They give the awareness of, maybe I do need to take a look at myself. Maybe there are some things that I could address. Because when you know better, you do better. Well, you should. You should. So I think we have to have these kinds of conversations, because hopefully they will make people go, well, okay, maybe I could think about that. The problem, Miss Shirley, like, I know you've seen it. People are resistant. The minute you go to tell them, like, they don't want to receive. We're so resistant to being told that, hey, you might need to look at yourself. And I'll be honest, I'm gonna call the women out, because listen, I'm saying this because I know from personal experience. Black women, we don't like to be told that we don't have it all together. Yeah. We do not like to be told that ain't nothing wrong with us. Because ain't nothing wrong with us. We're good. It's the men, it's the job, it's the everybody else. It's not us, because we are just fine. Yeah. We are just fine. Black women, if you don't want to ever take the moment to do some self-examination to really see if there aren't some things, how can we not have some things wrong with us, or some wear some scars or have some trauma when we had that the experience that we had in this country? How can we not still wear those as scars? Of course we do. So how can you walk around and think that you're just fine and there's nothing wrong with you? Are you kidding? Like, you have to be willing to look at yourself and say, yeah, okay, maybe I have been kind of conditioned to think this way, or Or maybe I've never really considered this about myself because I haven't ever wanted to look at myself and really own it and be accountable. You know, like I think that's the biggest problem. Like we see it post after post after post after post. Like women don't want to own it. You got people now. I will say
Nicole.
this: you have the women coming out, the
Hold on, what?
You know, you have the Kevin Samuels coming out. You have us, you know, the men talking. Other grown men are like, dudes, tighten it up. Women, tighten it up. You have other women coming in like, women, tighten it up. And these women are resisting.
I mean, I can see you.
They're resisting.
Yeah.
And it's one of those situations where they're like, I don't want to do it. I'm perfect. No, I'm fine. Men are the problem. Men are the problem. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a topic for another day. That's
Yeah.
a topic for another day. But
I think
on our own stuff.
Right. And I think also with that process, though, Chloe, it's kind of like twofold. So if a person has had an experience and they've been there, done that, wore that T-shirt, then you have to be vulnerable enough to let somebody know the way they see you today, that's not how you have always been as well. Because if you don't tell where you came from, how can you really help somebody, know something because you're ashamed of your process or you think you've always had it together, and that's the picture, that's being painted. And then on the opposite side of that is, how dare me tell Nicole how she should be and what she should do, and I'm doing what I'm telling Nicole she shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, and I can understand that.
And nobody wants to hear that.
Right. Yeah, and I can agree with that. Yeah, no, I think like I said, to touch on your point earlier, I think it is time to address us all. Like I said, right now we are having a conversation around women, right? And I know typically, historically, I'll say this: men have always heard it, right? So men have been the deadbeats. Men have been the, not playing your role, the not being a father. Listen, men have always heard that, right? But you have some men who have heard that and said, okay, it's time for me to make changes, right? It's time for me to improve what I'm doing. It's time for me to be mature. It's time for me to be responsible and so forth, right? But what I don't want to happen is when those men decide to turn that corner and be men, then when they come to ladies correctly, then there's still a conflict.
There's always gonna be conflict. That ain't going nowhere.
Well, that's based on her level of maturity. If she's not mature and she's drama driven, I don't care what you do.
No, I understand that.
Life, you don't have ups and downs, and no matter what, nothing's gonna be perfect. So you just got to work through the ups and downs.
Yeah, no, I understand that. No, really, the perspective that I'm trying to come from is, listen, this is kind of based off, some of Nicole's feedback earlier. It's when that man comes along and he's, like I said, he's gotten his act together and he says, okay, I'm ready to be serious and handle this business or get into this relationship. And then he runs into this conflict with the woman because she's still resistant, or she's still in that mindset of she's got to do it all on her own. Like, that's really the perspective that I'm trying to approach. So go ahead, Shirley.
So I just thought about a real true story.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was this young girl, I said been molested, but truthfully, I had really been raped, right? And there was some issues or whatever. So when I married my first husband, Andre, there were some challenges intimate wise, but he was able to help me through one. I was able to trust him to share my experience very openly. Two, he was very non-judgmental when it came. So he made the environment safe enough for me. And as a result of those first two things happening, that helped me overcome that threshold of whatever wall that had been built up from something that he had absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with.
But I was gonna say to that, how many men are gonna actually do that?
Yeah,
Just saying.
No, but see the thing of the matter, Nicole, was this also. I mean, it
Being
just didn't
honest.
happen overnight, but it's a process that it takes two people to be willing to want to work that process. And so since Quay addressed you and I guess, you're single here, what have you, you have to also remember. So another point, I'm helping this guy buy a house, right? He's got his mind on how much he want to spend or whatever. And I'm like, you can do this. However, you can't keep complicating the process expecting to get a house. Now we've lined everything up for you. So Nicole, if he's lined everything up for you and it's no longer the representative, because we don't know, I mean, people are people, period. People can change at the drop of a dime if that's what happens. Something happens in life or whatever. But if he's showing up and you are operating in discernment and you're really seeking and asking God for guidance and you're trusting discernment versus emotions and past things, then you'll be able to see if you're dealing with somebody real. And if you're creating an issue for you not to have what you want and deserve.
Right.
So you can't complicate it and expect for him to want to hang out with you until you get it together, especially if you're not talking and saying, hey, wait a minute, you know what? I'm not trying to hold you accountable, but I had a bad experience and this has triggered something for me. I want to work through it and I trust you to help me work through it. But if you're not willing to do that, then, Nicole, you'll probably grow old by yourself, unfortunately. Because there is no perfect guy out there. And the truth of the matter is, even though they don't talk about it, I think King said it earlier, or somebody did, they bring issues to the table also. They're just better at concealing and hiding it and not processing it than we are.
Okay, I feel that. Okay. Well, I'm thinking about curveballing this thing. Let me get this comment real quick. So Yvette Wright, she said, you must know where you came from and make adjustments to do better and be better. Again, make yourself proud. And if you have children, do your best to make them better and experience better things than you did. She said, but that's probably another show. And Yvette, like I said, we could get a whole nother show out of that, but like I said, that's valid to the conversation that we're having. At the end of the day, it does come down to doing better and making adjustments. I think a lot of these particular situations, especially, the Black woman versus everybody. I think a lot of these things we just have been conditioned to do, and we just get used to doing them. But they're just not the best thing to be doing. They're not the best thing for us. I like to, the term that goes around, this term that everybody uses, grinding, right? Everybody's always talking about grinding. I'm on my grind, right? But when you think about grinding, all that does is wear something down. So it's like, do I really want to be grinding? Like we gotta think about some of these things. Like I said, people throw that term around like it means something, like it's powerful, right? You on your grind. But when you think about grinding, what do you grind that actually turns out and improves? Like nothing. All it does is wear out. So at the end of the day, let's say a lot of these things, and specifically a lot of these things that Black women have been conditioned to do, it's just wearing y'all out. Literally, it's just wearing y'all out. And it just gets to a point where it's like, all right, it's enough of this. Like we gotta start pulling back on some of these things. And like I said, I'm just gonna say this to the ladies.
Preach.
You know what I'm saying? When a good man comes along, when a good man comes along and he say, I'm ready to have your back and support you, and take this stuff up off your plate.
Take it off your plate.
Let him do that.
I'm echoing you, Quay. I'm the hype man. Go ahead. It's time.
No, real talk. No, when a good man come along and he say he want to take that stuff off your plate and help you out, let him do that.
Let him do it.
Yeah, and I think also when he does it though too, don't wash my freaking face with it that you're doing it.
Hold on now.
I'm just saying. I felt that one right there, and I had to come out with it. because you don't want somebody to take something away from you because they're helping you, and then later on they wash your face with it because they did it.
That's fair.
I'm just saying.
We talking about the right.
The right guy ain't doing that. You talking about the good dudes in the hole in the wall.
I'm
You
just
talking about
saying.
Ray and Cletus from the boom boom.
I know. I'm just saying though. So just in case somebody misses.
Wait, hold on.
In case somebody misses.
Time out. We talking about good men. We ain't talking about Uncle Johnny or Bubba Chuck from the Sugar Shack or the hole in the wall.
Now my Uncle Johnny was a good man.
Hold on, Erica. How you gonna get on here?
We ain't talking about Junebug or Ray Ray.
He did not.
How she gonna get on here co-signing? Erica. How you gonna get on here co-signing on that? Come on, we talking about the right man. The right man ain't about to hold nothing over your head like that. Erica, how you gonna get on it?
If the right man had the right money,
Quay, as you're educating the sisters, you also have brothers listening. And I just think it's important to make sure that they also get the right gleaning and they understand where you're coming from. And it's not an assumption.
We got a show for that.
Hold on. Let me acknowledge this. So this one right here is serious right here. So this is my mama right here. She gonna get on here.
Hey, Miss Barbara.
Hey, hold on. Let me figure out how to.
Hey, you on your own? I ain't got to say on your own.
Let me try to block Miss Price. Hold on. How you gonna get on?
I got your back, Barbara.
Hey, mute my mama. Mute.
Oh man, y'all funny tonight. But yeah, no, that's really what it is. At the end of the day, as we identify these issues that have been plaguing us for a long time, they've been plaguing our relationships, they've been plaguing our marriages, they've been plaguing us as we go into these corporate settings. Once we identify these things, we actively have to start making changes. Because I said all this stuff is wearing us out, is burning us out. You know, then when we come home to each other, we bucking, we arguing, this, that, and the third, because we burned out from trying to be Superwoman and Superman.
Wow.
And like I said, it just becomes overwhelming. And like I said, it just, using that comparison I gave earlier about grinding, it just wears us down.
Go, Quay, go.
No, I'm just real talk. Let me grab this comment. Don't be muting mama on the Strong Black Woman show. You're right.
Hey, wait, it's a technical difficulty.
Right. All right, so I'm gonna do this. I gotta monkey wrench this show for a minute.
You dropped a bomb on me.
I gotta drop a bomb. We gotta jump on something real quick. Since we are discussing the strong Black woman. So I came across this video today. I'm gonna go ahead and brace y'all now. Y'all gonna have to excuse the language. The brother that's in this video, he's got some very explicit language, but it's something I want to touch. So let me pull this up. We're gonna do this real quick. Let's see. Let me get him up here. Stuff. All right, here we go. Let me get this on. All right. All right, so we got to touch this.
I wake up to all these Lord Harvey fans on my ass. How about I'm hating on Lord? What I want to hate on Lord for? I just said y'all got it fucked up saying that's goals. If you saying that's goals, that means you want your daughter to fuck 7 or 8, 9 niggas in a couple months in the industry. If that's goals, if that's cool with you for your daughter doing that, then I can't say shit. But what's wrong with y'all motherfuckers is y'all salute the woman who get passed around, but y'all dog the woman who stick by they nigga when they nigga fuck over. Y'all dog the real bitches who stick by they nigga. You heard me? But y'all salute the bitches who go from hand to hand. The world fucked up. But the woman who stick by her nigga, found her one celebrity and stick by that nigga, she's stupid. The world fucked up. I'm just a speaker. The world fucked up.
All right. So excuse the brother's language, but that's our Boosie talk. So I wanted to curveball this real quick because I know, Shirley, you mentioned earlier that we're in a situation where those mentor women are not still in the picture, or that mentoring is not happening between those women and the younger women, that have come after them. So I came across this video earlier because there's this whole thing going on, and I'll just kind of give some background context. So you got this young lady, the Steve Harvey's daughter, and she's had relationships with multiple, I guess, celebrity guys. I know Future and Michael, but I think she's currently with Michael B. Jordan, and she's been with a couple other guys, right? But I don't think the duration has been that long, but she's made her way around and done her thing, right? And people are saying that those are goals, right? So that's when people say, that's goals, that's typically something that they applaud or something that they're kind of looking to emulate or support. So I think that this particular topic kind of fits the show because a lot of people look at her as a strong Black woman because of what she's doing, right? So she's kind of doing what I guess you would say, some dudes have done back in the day, or how some dudes function. And I'm just wondering, should that be something that we should be calling goals? Like, so we know guys did that type of stuff, right? And a lot of folks frowned on those guys and said, no, he dirty, he's, he a whack, whatever the word. Yeah, he a player. Right, the words you use to describe them. But now we have a situation where we have this young girl, because I think she's pretty young. Is she in her 20s, I think? Mm-hmm. But she's a young girl. And she's essentially doing a similar thing, and we're calling it goals or something that we want to emulate or something that we support. So I wanted to get y'all thoughts on that to understand, like, what do y'all think about that? Is that part of this issue? Is that something that we should be kind of celebrating? Give me your thoughts on that.
So I don't celebrate it by far, and I didn't even understand what you're talking about, goals or whatever it was. It goes back to parenting. So I look at when you said that, because I don't know half of who all these individuals are. So Steve Harvey's her father. So for me, there's something wrong with Steve. And there's something wrong with women who are taking advice from Steve if Steve doesn't have his own household under control. That's just my perspective. She doesn't know who she is. And so she's missed something in her life from men that would cause her to belittle herself. And I'm saying she's belittling herself to go and to shed her precious body with men just because we call celebs. The guy Boosie, his language or whatever, I wasn't feeling a lot of it. I used to curse or whatever. But when he started calling women bees, I'm like, you just lost me with all of that right there as well. When you are speaking of this young lady's behavior. So she needs a counselor. She definitely needs the Lord.
Why?
She needs a phenomenal woman. Why? I mean, she doesn't understand the fact that her body is a prized possession and that she carries.
She's sleeping with him though.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, guys. Okay, let's
We have to play games. Go ahead, Chloe. I'm on mute.
Let me get in on this. Let me get in on this. Let me get in on this.
She doesn't have the right to date random people.
This woman has taken very compromising photos with these dudes. Okay? This woman has taken very compromising photos with these dudes. Okay? So let me just say this. Are we making a few assumptions? Okay, sure. Okay, we're making some assumptions. But let's just be honest. These dudes she's not able to float in and out of these dudes like this because they just like having company with her. They just like her. She's so funny. She's not floating in and out of these dudes like she floating in and out of these dudes, able to get these dudes and be with these dudes because she's funny. Let's just be honest. We all grown folks. So let's just be grown about this. In that industry, she ain't with these dudes just holding their hands and hugging them. We need to stop that. Let's stop that. We all adults here. That woman sleeping with them dudes. She done slept with them Trey Songz, Akon brother. Who else? Future. She ain't slept with Future. Future. I want y'all to just stop. Let's just be honest about this thing. And this woman has done this over the course of a pretty short period of time. It ain't been that long. Justin Combs. Then I think she even was like seen with Diddy too. I'm like, this girl has been around.
Yeah,
so I'm just saying, like, let's just eat. Okay, I'll do y'all a solid. Let's just say maybe she didn't sleep with every single one of them. Okay, all right, cool. She didn't sleep with every single one of them. But this baby, at the end of the day, this woman has been around. And yes, you do date to find your man. I'm not saying you don't. But when you are giving yourself away, to each one of these men like this, like women, we have to understand, like connections get made when you sleep with these dudes. When you want around, same thing with dudes. Like transfers happen, connections get made. This stuff is spiritual. You can't just be going around sleeping with everybody that you want to sleep around with and think that it carries nothing. Like you just leave that there and you go pick this up and it's all gonna go, it's gonna work out for you. Like you have to understand it does not work that way. Okay. And we can discredit Boosie all we want by saying he got baby mamas. Maybe he's speaking from personal experience. Because he do got baby mamas. So maybe he's saying, I recognize this because guess what? I sleep around too. I'm a hoe too. Like it's not always about shooting the messenger. Like sometimes you gotta maybe understand that the message, it might be coming from an unlikely messenger, but it's still a valid message. At the end of the day, she's not goals. And the women that's in his comments,
that's the part I got a problem with.
The women or men that's in his comments campaigning and cheerleading for her need to stop. She's not goals. That's not okay. Why are we making it okay? And like Shirley said, and I think Yvette even commented on it. Yeah, she may not have had the greatest example. She hasn't. I mean, Steve Harvey, it ain't like he out here telling women how to live their life. But at the end of the day, he done been married before. He over here creating new religions, Christianity. I don't know what he out here doing. You can't. This man is not. He confused. So can you blame her for being confused? I mean, I don't know where her mama come from and what her mama got going on. She might not have been the best example either. So I agree with that. But when we see that, what we should be doing is rallying around these young women and telling them better. When we see young women doing this, we should be telling them something better. We shouldn't be calling them goals. We should be saying, listen, baby doll, this ain't the way. This is not the way. Instead of campaigning and cheerleading for it. Like
and I was guilty. Let me say this. I was definitely guilty because I was a teenage mom. Because I didn't understand the value of my body. Dating does not mean that I'm sleeping with somebody. I mean, those women that we talked about that were prime women or whatever, it's about holding onto you. And what we as women don't understand is men deposit into us. And we are not depositing into them. And this is why we have such an emotional breakdown, because of the spiritual soul ties of what has been imparted in us from them when they walk away from us. And we basically lose our minds because of what has been inputted into us. And we do not understand the fact that we are taking in something you guys put in us. We don't put nothing in you. And if we put something on you, you can go wash it off. We grown folks and we have real conversation. It may be nasty, but it's real. And so what we
I don't need you talking like that live on television next to me. You don't have to get your own show and talk about stuff like that.
What we need to do is first and foremost, fathers, and not in an intimate, nasty way, but you need to date your daughter and show your daughter what a real man is and how he should treat her first and foremost. The next thing is moms, you need to be modeling the type of woman she needs to be for the man that her father is displaying and showing, so that when she gets older, when some joker come to her wanting to date her like that, she be like, what? So there was a saying that I heard from someone else that when I used to mentor young girls, I used to tell them this. When guys say, if you love me, prove it, meaning they want you to sleep with them, you say back to them, if you love me, don't ask me. I respect and I love you enough that I'm not going to let you jeopardize or compromise what you have. And then the other thing is, when you got women together saying things, right, to each other, you can always tell that woman, that is that young girl, because we're talking about girls as well, that have slept with somebody else. Any day I want to be like you, I can be like you, especially if you're a virgin. But if I never want to be like you, you can never, ever come back to be who I am. And one of the best things that could ever happen, and unfortunately, I didn't get it to happen to me, but spiritually it happened with me. And that is to when I married my husband, for my husband to have been the first man to have broken a hymen, to enter into that is such a prized possession, because we need to understand our self-worth. He gets to enter into your treasure box.
Let's
And
go.
for him, if he's never been into a box, and to go into your box, it is something so magical.
Go.
And we don't have conversations like that anymore.
Yeah.
We're
Go.
like, you know what? Open up your legs, go get it, let it happen, do what you want to do. Well, the devil is a lie. That's
Go.
why that young girl is doing what she's doing. And I didn't realize you all were using the term goals like that's a goal.
Mhm.
Absolutely not. No way. And never be. And I'm done after this. I'm gonna do my little summation right now, Los. The show is never ever. If you have not lost your virginity, I don't care how old you are, don't lose your virginity for some doggone knucklehead. Because if Quay and Carlos King will tell you the truth, when they get ready to marry and do what they gonna do, they gonna go find somebody that ain't nobody else done touched, and they gonna make her hurt.
Whoa. Ah.
Another show, but a real talk. Hey, you getting it from an OG today.
Stop that
You
car.
getting it from an
Stop
OG.
that car.
You
Ah,
getting
Stop
it
that
from an
car.
OGG.
Stop that car.
OG gal.
Mute. M-U-T, super mute. No, you don't get to speak for me and Quay in that manner and jump in our bodies and say what we would do and how we feel. It ain't even a man's show yet. What you doing? In the
Close.
name of
Gotta
Jesus.
get
In
that
the name
man
of
show
Jesus.
in, girl.
Mute Quay in the name of Jesus. Hallelujah. With all the baptism, oil, and holy water.
Man,
So,
go ahead and do your thing, Los. I'm quiet, man. I'm quiet.
Even though I'm throwing the jokes or whatever else, there was a lot of gems dropped in that was very important, very valuable. And however the shoe fits, make sure you wear it. So before I go in, I would definitely love to turn over the floor, because this is about the ladies, to Nicole and Chloe. If they have any closing statements about the topic, how they feel about the show, or anything else, or just things that you want us to know. Please go ahead.
I think first and foremost, going back to something that Shirley said about this topic, specifically about Lori Harvey, there is a transfer that happens, and it goes both ways. No, we don't leave any evidence, so to speak, with you guys that you can't wash off. But spiritually, there's a soul tie that happens on both ends. From the man to the woman, from the woman to the man, there is definitely a soul tie there. And we have to be very careful, because you don't know what that person has, or who how many spirits they've been convoluting with. It's just, we have to be very careful about that. Like we celebrate a lot of stuff in this societal structure that we shouldn't celebrate. Like that goes back to the whole knowing who you are and your identity in Christ. Like we have to understand that we were created beings. We had a creator. We did have a creator. When we step outside of his original intention for who we were to be and for who we are, things just fall apart. There is no identity. You don't have a real identity if you haven't accepted your identity in Christ. Who are you? Because you were put here for a purpose. And if you're not living that God-ordained purpose, then what is your purpose? That's when you'll have people going around sleeping around. That's when you'll have people, and the whole strong Black woman, independent, I don't need you, all the women independent. That's when you'll start having that stuff happen to you, because now you're assuming the identities that have been given to you were not your original intended purpose for your life. So I think first and foremost, we have to learn these things. And then when we start to learn them, start to make the changes. We have to start making these changes, apply the things that we learn. When we have conversations like this, first and foremost, women and men, but especially women, because I know this topic was about women. Women own it. Take an actual look at yourselves and go, is there anything that I could change? Like, own that. Take it and own it. Stop wanting to put a wall up every time somebody says, Black women, you need to look at this. Like, you're not perfect. None of us are. And I think that's the first thing. These conversations are supposed to bring awareness. And once you're aware that there's an issue, there's a problem, or there's something that you might actually need to adjust, then you make those adjustments. And it's a process, but you begin to make those adjustments. The first step is being aware and accepting the fact that there's a problem. If you can't ever get to the first step, which is accepting the fact that there's a problem, then you always go through life carrying these things, baggage from one relationship to another. And I think if anything else, now is the time. There's no better time for us to start working on ourselves. Maybe if we start to really truly understand who we are and how we should move, then we won't accept a lot of these titles and a lot of these narratives that this world and this society are placing on us.
Nicole, do you have anything?
Not really. Just to piggyback kind of off of the last statement that Chloe said, I think a lot of it does start with awareness and understanding who we are as people and understanding our past and where we want to be. And I think understanding that, we can understand more of ourselves and definitely who we are, and just not fall victim to, I don't know, what people deem as goals. So.
Okay. I'm gonna say this, Nicole. I can no. So I'm just gonna say this. I'm gonna give you a shout out. So since you've been on the show, you talking a little different.
Am I?
It's good though. It's good though. You talking a little different. I can hear it. We proud of you out here. We proud of you.
Aw, thank you.
For sure. All right, Los, do your thing, man.
I don't think it should be goals, personally. If that's your goal, cool. But this says a lot about you. If that's what you're teaching society or the future, that says a lot about the future that you claim that you want. I don't understand how we get so mad about so many different things, but this is what we claim we want our goals to be. We just got to look in the mirror and check ourselves, right? At the same time, I want to apologize to every single woman out there. And the reason why I want to apologize to you guys is because we've been out of place as men. There's a lot of things that we've done wrong, right? We go all the way back to the Garden of Eden. The covenant was never with Eve. The covenant was with Adam. Even though Eve asked Adam to bite the apple, Adam made a choice and he didn't have to. And sometimes we put that burden on y'all and act as if it's just women. And we have to understand that if we're talking about spiritually in alignment, it would be God, man, woman, child. But if we're out of order, what do you expect to happen to the woman? If we're abusing them and taking advantage of our power and not doing what we're supposed to do, what do you think women are supposed to do? If we live women hanging high and dry and they're just out here to fend for themselves, what do you think is going to happen? Don't believe me? Check history. In history, when all the men went to war and there was no one left in America, women had to go out and get jobs. Women had to start working. women had to level up, boss up, and everything else. And now you have independent women holding their own because there was no one to be their covering during that time period. So if we take that and we put that into our own culture, look at how we're falling apart as a man and the things that we're doing and the things that we could do better. Having children, not taking care of them. I mean, you got to understand the plight of being a black person, period, especially a black woman. They've been raped, beaten, children been stolen, had to take care of other people's children and everything else. Of course, they have the right to be hurt. Of course, they have traumas. But at the same time, if you're not man enough to deal with a trauma, you need to leave her alone. If you're not patient enough, if you don't have the time to love her, if you don't have the time to work with her. Even Nicole came out and just said, hey, I can, but it's going to be a little work. And I appreciate the honesty, because as long as a person can be honest with you up front about the work, you have a choice to be able to put in the work. It's the deception, or it's the conversation that never happens that makes the relationship difficult, you know? And if that person's being patient, that doesn't give you the right to take your past traumas and turn that person into the punching bag for the traumas that you've been through. So we have to understand that side of the equation as well, because this person has his own thing, but yet he's trying to be the piece that you need to allow you to grow, to heal from that scenario. So again, as men, we apologize to y'all. I apologize to all my brothers who've messed up, who've not been perfect. I've been married before. I've been through my stuff, so I'm not judging anyone, and I can't judge no one without being able to look into my closet and look at my flaws. I got to be more patient. I got to be more kind. I got to be more understanding. I got to listen more. I got to be a better caretaker. I got to be a better caretaker. I got to protect the kingdom more. There's different requirements that if you want a woman to be submissive, then you got to be willing to check those blocks. You can't just say be submissive, because if you go to work and your boss just tell you all these different things, but yet he's not taking care of you, he's not doing right, guess what? You're going to quit that job. It's the same thing in a relationship. You got to be willing to put in the work, got to be willing to put in the time to make the difference. So shout out to all the women out there who joined the show, who's listening to the show, who wants to share, like, and subscribe. We love y'all. We apologize, and we're going to do better. If you get another day to wake up tomorrow, this is how we end it on a quote. And we'll end it like this. If you die today, would you get an A+ in life's report card? And only you know the answer to that question. Only you know the answer to that. But if you wake up and you're blessed to live tomorrow, to see tomorrow, you better live like it's extra credit, because it's not, tomorrow's not promised. Hey, that's our show. We love you guys. Shout out to you guys. Make sure you join, like, and subscribe. And shout out to all the women. We talk about y'all because y'all mean so much to us. And that's why we have so many shows about women, because without y'all, we wouldn't be here. Yeah.
Facts. Yeah, let's say shout out to everybody that was in the comments tonight. All the ladies who came on the panel, Chloe, Shirley Ann, Nicole, we appreciate you as always supporting the show. Definitely share this out. Like I said, we're trying to get this show out here to everybody, get it out to the masses. Like I said, we try to have the conversations that are actually going to affect some change. You know, the conversations that we rarely have, the conversations that a lot of us are scared to touch. So let's say we try to, you know, affect that change via this show. So definitely share this out. You know, share it with a friend, let folks know, bring them on the show with you, you know, let's say, you know, and come on the panel with us. So we really like to get people on the panel. Let's say this is an interactive show. We want to hear your perspective. We want to hear what you got to say. So definitely come check us out every Thursday night, 6:30 Pacific Standard Time, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, every Thursday night. Once again, this is Look in the Mirror, the Conversation. I'm the co-host, Quay Price, other co-host, King Jacob Martin. And let's say we will catch you guys next Thursday on the show. So everybody have an awesome night, and we will see you next Thursday.